On this, our celebration of the 14th Sunday in Ordinary Time, we should perceive, hidden within this beautiful gospel passage, a very serious warning. The Lord Jesus was speaking to a group of his followers returning from their first missionary journey, which had been wildly successful. They were full of joy and the satisfaction of victory. In the Lord's name and with his grace, they had finally been able to do something worthwhile, meaningful, and wonderful. And the Lord Jesus rejoiced with them. These disciples believed in the Lord Jesus, trusted him, and followed his teaching. Now, they were reaping the benefits, experiencing the kind of interior peace and satisfaction that commonly comes only to the humble, to the childlike ones willing to take the Lord at his word. Remember, humility is merely recognizing the truth for what it is and acting accordingly. It's not bathing, not wearing shoes, and eating dirt. Okay? Those who are wise and learned, on the other hand, that would be the scribes, the Pharisees, and the Sadducees, arrogantly, that's the word, demanded that God explain himself completely before they would agree to trust in him. Now, that's a reasonable expectation to have of a politician, but it's a diabolical attitude to take in relation to God. Remember, diabolical comes from a word meaning devil, devilish. So we don't want to do anything diabolical. The wise and the learned are the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the successful people and the intellectuals, the same ones who would eventually nail the Lord Jesus to a cross instead of taking his yoke upon them. Oh, what is that word, yoke? Well, you know, that's what you put on oxen, and usually two of them, and they pull plows, which can be quite a task, especially if the yoke is not made for them specifically. In days past, when people plowed with oxen, a farmer would acquire a new ox, and he would take it to the carpenter. Ooh, the Lord Jesus was a carpenter, wasn't he? So he may have even done this. Would take him to the carpenter to be measured out, and then they would take it back home, and the carpenter would rough out a yoke for the ox. Well, then, like a dapper businessman, they would take the ox back to the carpenter for the final fitting, where the carpenter would form that yoke to that ox. So when the ox pulled the load that it was on that, it would not bother him any, or her for that matter, I guess. I don't know if the female oxen had to pull to, probably so. But anyway, depending on what you got, I guess. But it would not cause them any discomfort, and it would distract them from pulling, and they wouldn't be afraid of pulling. Now, that word that Jesus used, my yoke is easy. The word for easy is from the Greek word that can also mean fitting. God fits a yoke especially for each and every one of us, so that when we go through our lives serving him, we will not be distracted from pains from it. Okay? We each have our own yoke made specifically for us by a loving Father who wants to see us in his presence forever. So all these things that you think are so burdensome, you might want to stop and think about those again, because God does not lay on you anything that is not good for your what? Somebody say it out loud. I've said it before. Your soul. He doesn't do things to you just because he enjoys it. He doesn't do things to you to be mean and nasty. He puts a yoke upon you made specifically and fitted exactly for you, so that as you go through this life, pulling the load, you will not be distracted by the yoke. So, and now you know I'm done because I said so. As we continue this, our commemoration of what God has done and continues to do for us, we should thank God for the great gift of our faith and ask him to always keep us humble and full of wonder, like true children of God. And also to remember that our yoke was fashioned specifically for us by a loving Father who wishes us to be in his presence forever.